Today we're pulling back the curtain on the 6 bands Prince truly loved, the ones that helped shape the sound of a legend. And trust me, one of them will leave you stunned. 1. Earth, Wind and Fire. If there was ever a band that mirrored Prince's ambition, vision, and flair for the dramatic, it was Earth, Wind and Fire. Prince didn't just admire them, he studied them, obsessed over them. He once called them the best band ever assembled, and it wasn't hyperbole. Maurice White's creation wasn't just a funk band. It was a cosmic, genre-bending force that fused soul, jazz, gospel, and pure spectacle, all wrapped in Afrofuturist imagery and metaphysical energy that spoke to Prince on a deep level. He would pore over their records, break down their chord progressions, and take mental notes on how they constructed their harmonies. Their use of horns, those soaring falsettos, the call-and-response vocals, it all found its way into Prince's early recordings. But it wasn't just about the sound, it was the showmanship. Earth, Wind and Fire turned every performance into a spiritual ritual. The lights, the costumes, the choreography. It wasn't a concert, it was a ceremony. And that idea stuck with Prince. When he was forming the revolution, he made his bandmates study Earth, Wind and Fire's live shows, not just for the music, but for the discipline. He told them, "This is what greatness looks like. Watch it. Learn it." Even years later, Prince still paid tribute. Listen closely to tracks like Musicology or The Gold Standard, and you'll hear echoes of that classic YVF groove. Tight, celebratory, infectious. The DNA is unmistakable. Earth, Wind and Fire didn't just influence Prince. They were part of his musical architecture. 2. Joni Mitchell. Prince didn't just admire Joni Mitchell, he adored her. Long before he was a global icon, a teenage Prince was sitting in his bedroom in Minneapolis, writing fan letters to a woman who sang with a painter's touch. Joni Mitchell wasn't funk, wasn't flashy, and certainly wasn't trying to rule the charts, but for Prince, her music was like a secret language he understood better than most. She wasn't a band, and yet she takes a firm place on this list, because when it came to songwriting, Joni was his North Star. He once said, "Joni taught me how to write songs." That's not something Prince said lightly. Her ability to bend melody around complex emotions, her poetic lyrics, and her refusal to fit into any mold, it all resonated deeply with him. You can hear her influence in the quieter corners of his catalog. Songs like Sometimes It Snows in April or The Ladder. Raw, emotional, stripped down. Those moments didn't come from James Brown or Sly Stone. They came from Joni. When the two finally met, Joni recalled Prince as being shy, borderline speechless. This from a man who could command 50,000 people with a stare. Their musical chemistry was never fully realized in collaboration, but the respect was mutual. Joni once said Prince understood the subtleties in music that most people miss entirely. And that's what made him different. Prince didn't just love funk or rock, he loved truth in music, no matter what form it came in. 3. Sly and the Family Stone. If Earth, Wind and Fire were the polished perfectionists, Sly and the Family Stone were the beautiful chaos. To Prince, Sly Stone wasn't just a musician, he was a prophet. A fearless innovator who rewrote the rules of funk, soul, and rock all at once. Prince once said that Sly didn't just make music, he made statements. Sly's band was revolutionary in every way. Black and white, male and female, all on stage together, at a time when that wasn't done. Their grooves were dirty, raw, and unpredictable. Their lyrics? Radical, spiritual, political, and that fusion of rebellion and rhythm. It imprinted itself on Prince like a fingerprint. Just listen to Housequake or Controversy. The distorted funk, the shouting vocals, the manic energy, it's straight from Sly's playbook. Prince didn't copy it though, he absorbed it, mutated it, and pushed it into his own universe. But more than just sound, Prince admired Sly's courage, the willingness to be messy, to be vulnerable, to be real, even when it was uncomfortable. Prince lived by that same code. The revolution's racially diverse, androgynous image. That wasn't just fashion. That was Sly's influence, reimagined for the purple era. Prince saw in Sly a reflection of what music could be when there were no rules, just raw soul and fearless self-expression. And that was Prince's kind of revolution. 4. Led Zeppelin. Now this one turns heads, because no one expects Prince to be a Zeppelin fan. And yet, he was. Behind the purple suits, the Lynn drums, and the Minneapolis funk machine was a man who secretly admired the raw power of Led Zeppelin. He once said he loved the attitude of their music, the swagger, the danger. Prince was all about precision, but Zeppelin, they were thunderous, unhinged, almost primal. And that contrast fascinated him. He reportedly kept physical graffiti in his personal collection and would listen closely to Jimmy Page's guitar tone, how it roared and whispered at the same time. In the early 2000s, fans at a private soundcheck claimed Prince launched into a scorching cover of Whole Lotta Love. No warning, no intro, just fire. And he killed it. He didn't need to prove he could play rock. He was rock, just in disguise. Prince never went full hard rock in public, but you can hear that Zeppelin energy in songs like Endorphin Machine or Bambi. Screaming guitars, no apologies. It's not polished, it's feral. It's Prince letting his guitar talk trash. He once said, "I don't believe in genre, just emotion," and Led Zeppelin. They played like every note was life or death. That spoke to him, even if he kept it quiet. 5. The Beatles. Prince almost never talked about the Beatles, and when he did, it was brief, sometimes cryptic. But behind closed doors, he was quietly obsessed. Those close to him said Prince would dissect Beatles records the way a scientist examines DNA, not just the melodies, but the structure, the layering, the little studio tricks that made their songs timeless. It wasn't fandom, it was research. Around the World in a Day, his psychedelic, experimental follow-up to Purple Rain, was dripping in Beatles influence. The album artwork alone screamed Sgt. Pepper. And musically, the dreamy orchestrations, backwards guitars, surreal lyrics, all unmistakably Beatles-inspired. But Prince didn't just admire their sound, he admired their freedom, the way they evolved, shed their skin, and refused to be boxed in. One year it was mop tops and pop hits, the next, sitars and existential weirdness. That creative fearlessness resonated with him deeply. He once told a journalist off the record that the Beatles taught him it was okay to outgrow yourself. Even their flaws fascinated him, their studio arguments, their breakups, their solo turns, because Prince knew what it meant to build something beautiful and walk away from it. He didn't need to cover Let It Be to show his love. He just let it bleed into the music. 6. Parliament Funkadelic. If one band pulsed through Prince like raw electricity, it was Parliament Funkadelic. Led by George Clinton's chaotic genius, P-Funk didn't just bend the rules, they vaporized them and threw a party in the smoke. For Prince, this wasn't influence, it was bloodline. He once said, "George showed me how deep the funk can go." That wasn't poetry, it was direction. P-Funk's wild grooves, cosmic themes, and theatrical personas cracked open a universe where Prince could build his own mythology. When he launched the new power generation, it was his version of Parliament. Fearless, fluid, and funk-drenched. By the 90s, he even produced music for Clinton, calling it a dream come true. Clinton returned the praise. Prince made it royal. Tracks like Let's Work and 3121. That groove, that grit, that glorious weirdness, it's pure P-Funk, reborn in purple. To Prince, P-Funk wasn't just a sound. It was permission to be infinite. Conclusion. Prince didn't ask for approval. He built his legacy by being bold, original, and entirely himself. But even icons have influences. These 6 bands weren't just inspirations. They were part of his DNA. Earth, Wind and Fire's polish, Joni Mitchell's poetry, Sly Stone's chaos, Led Zeppelin's thunder, the Beatles' evolution, and P-Funk's wild freedom all shaped his sound. But Prince never copied, he transformed. He made their essence unrecognizable, until all you heard was him, because before he became a legend, he was a fan.